Okay, so I hope we are live. I hope we are live. Who knows? Okay, so is it okay to collect and wear Soviet watches? Especially this, and some people call it Russian watches, which is not technically correct, but you kind of like get the idea. And this topic got especially relevant when the Russia started war in Ukraine, when there are all these like horrible things that the Russian soldiers are doing. So instead of speaking how to help Ukraine, we're gonna speak about collecting watches. That's what this channel is about collecting watches. But is this okay to collect and wear Russian, Soviet watches, not Russian, let's call them Soviet. This topic was relevant even like before the war started, right? But now the war hurts. The war hurts, and this becomes much more, like I would say it's much more clear to figure it out. Also, the topic is very similar to the topic of German Nazi watches, right? So for many people who collect vintage watches, it might be more interesting. Like, is it okay to collect and wear Nazi watches? I don't have much to add to or like to explain in that topic, but I think I have a lot to contribute to Soviet watches topic. And once we understand Soviet watches, I think understanding Nazi watches will be much more easy. So I think I can contribute to the topic of Soviet watches, and let me explain why my opinion matters, right? So first, let me see. I'm gonna join from my computer here. Okay, let me make sure there is no sound. Oh yeah, I can see myself. This is cool. Okay, so if you guys have a question, or you can add, you want to add something, let me know. But yeah. So let me explain why I think my opinion matters, right? So I'm US citizen. I lived in US for 20 years, but I was born in Ukraine. And you can see this like talking about vintage watches with Ukrainian accent. That's why, because I was born in Ukraine. I lived in Ukraine until I was 24, and I still remember, like when I was little boy, I still remember Soviet Union. I still remember kind of like real Soviet Union, when kind of like putting yellow and blue together was like it can get you in trouble. Obviously not in clothes, but you would like do something like a flag or something. Now my family is from this like western part of Ukraine. That's where all the banderivtsi are from. So that's those people that Soviet Union was afraid of, and now Putin is looking for them actually in Ukraine. There's the whole like Russian propaganda, and the old-time Soviet propaganda was targeting against these like banderivtsis. Right, and what I remember, so like my family, like obviously not me, not my parents, but people who were before them, suffered both from German Nazis and from Soviets. And so when Germans took over Ukraine, they were fighting against Germans. When the Soviet Union came, kind of like nothing happened, nothing changed. So you had like one Hitler, it changed to another Hitler, but now the new Hitler's name is Stalin. Like the same concentration camps, the same like killings, the same like tortures. Nothing really changed. So like my opinion about Soviet Union is like very negative. Like I think that again I don't know that much about Germans and about Nazis, but because this, like my grandpa, my great-grandpa, they lived during Soviet Union. They tell me stories. My great-grandma, and so on. So the stories are horrible. The stories about Soviet Union are absolutely horrible. So like, if you live in United States, like you heard about German Nazis, that's Soviets. So I know that many people have like different opinions, but like my opinion about Soviet Union is very, very negative. And especially and now when Putin attacks Ukraine and tries to bring Soviet Union back, you can imagine that it all like really, really hurts. Let me see if oh look, somebody's watching us, yay. So okay guys, so we are talking about collecting Soviet watches, and if that's okay or not, and especially given the war in Ukraine. So yeah, so if you guys have some like question or something, let me know. I'll just gonna keep going on my rant. But you might be like now, given that my opinion about everything Soviet and this like whole Soviet ideology is like super negative, you might be surprised what I think about actually Soviet watches. But let's get to that. So now when we are thinking about let's say I'm actually I have a lot of Soviet watches in my own collection. I'm actually wearing an American watch right now, but I do have a Soviet watch that Pobeda that my grandpa was wearing, and after that my father was wearing. I have some watches from my wife's family. I have some watches from my family, and I do wear them, right? But now you know that there is like I'm like super negative on everything Soviet, but like what the hell? Why am I wearing them? And so there are two things that how we can explain that, and like what's my what's my thinking. So actually okay. So let's make an example of something that happened 2,000 years ago. And actually 2,000 years ago, people were asking themselves, you would be surprised, the same question. Okay, so I know all the KGB agents already put in comments. They're not putting comments yet, but once this is published, they will be putting comments on my video. Let me bring all the people who hate Christians also. Put all your comments there. So 2,000 years ago, there was this question, and you can read it in the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 8, a very short chapter, like half of the page. I just read it. So they were eating food that was sacrificed to idols. And they were asking, like, is it okay to eat that food? Right? It's very similar question, right? Imagine I'm wearing a Soviet watch. This is something that represents something like super negative from the history, right? Those people were eating, and in some ways, like I believe, like for example, meat, you couldn't get meat which is not sacrificed in Corinth. So people were eating this, like Christians were eating this, like sacrificed food to idols. And they were asking themselves, they were asking Paul, I think the Paul around Corinthians, like, is it okay to eat it? And yeah, so this is like very similar watches and food to 2,000 years ago. And what Paul is saying, like you yourself understand that there are no idols, right? There is like one true God. And the same thing with watches, right? If I wear a Soviet watch, I understand that this is just a watch, right? It cannot hurt anybody. It cannot, like, it doesn't shoot bullets. It doesn't kill anybody. It doesn't contribute taxes to Putin's government so he can build more tanks or something. That is just a thing, right? But what Paul says is, if you eat it, this is like does nothing good or bad. It's just a food, you know. There's no idols. They don't exist. But if somebody sees you eating that food, and he thinks that you are eating that food because you actually believe in idols, right? That you support that idea. Then he said, don't do it. That's because like it's not gonna do anything bad to you, but it's gonna do something bad to this other person. And the same is very, very relevant 2000 years later. Now, like if I would be wearing, so here's what I'm thinking, like if I would be wearing Soviet watch, right? If somebody sees me, like, does he think, like, I'm obviously not trying to do like propaganda of anything like Soviet or Russian or like anything like that, right? But if somebody sees me wearing these like, I don't know, like Vostok or it's like the Pobeda, for example. Pobeda has a lot of negative history. The brand created by Stalin. They used it during. Anyway, that's a different. If I'm wearing Pobeda, for example, my grandpa's Pobeda, will anybody think that I'm actually supporting like Soviet idea, right? It's anybody think like, oh, this guy is like he wants Soviet Union back, he's supporting Putin's troops, right? No, that would be just ridiculous, right? That would be absolutely ridiculous. So yes, so the Soviet Union idea is very negative idea, right? And but if I would be wearing something Soviet, or like if I would be collecting something Soviet, like that's not propaganda. Like nobody would even like think that I'm supporting these ideas, right? So this is one point, right? So like if anybody sees you doing this, like collecting Soviet watches or like wearing it, like, oh, and the same goes with Nazis, right? So for example, if you see Ralph Lauren wearing German Biur, right? Do you really think that Ralph Lauren is a Nazi? Like, this is ridiculous. Come on. Really? Like he's wearing because it's a cool watch, right? You know, like it's absolutely like ridiculous. And there is another thing. So we like watches because watches are history, right? We like watches because they actually remind us about history. They have a lot of kind of like historical events tied to them, and that's for example why we are collecting them, and that's why we actually like to wear them, right? And negative history is still a history, right? Like you have these like monuments about like negative things, right? You have historic history books that talk about negative things, right? When people perish, then like about KGB, for example, all these bad things, right? So watches are like the fact that it's a negative history, it doesn't mean that like it should be like banned or not used, or like if I'm wearing my grandpa's Pobeda or my wife's grandpa's Chaika, it's like such a cool watch, by the way. Like I'm reminded myself about all these like bad things that happened during Soviet Union. Like, some things were like okay, right? But I'm reminded myself about all these like bad things, and it's cool. Like it's cool. It's history. Like you're wearing history on your wrist, right? And that's why for these like two things. One is a biblical thing that if somebody sees you, and again, like if I would be wearing something else, for example, imagine it's not a Soviet watch, right? Imagine you wear some like symbolism that they're using during the war right now. So like in Russia, there is this like big propaganda, and a lot of people are actually supporting the war, this is like unthinkable. But anyway, and they have this like Latin letter or like two letters that they're using to show their support for the war. This is like so stupid. Imagine I would be wearing something like that. You would be like, what the yeah, we're not gonna say that, right? So yeah, that would be bad, right? That's definitely, even if I don't believe in that, I would be promoting this idea. Like people would look at me and people would be like, oh yeah, like Putin, like that. But if I'm wearing Soviet watch, yeah, that's part of the history. That's part of the old negative history. But like nobody would think that like I'm like somehow like supported or like anything like that. And the historical, you're wearing history on your wrist. This is great. Yeah, this is I think this is totally okay. Okay, let's see if somebody said anything. I think nobody said anything. I'm kind of yeah, I think I said what I wanted to say, and we just recorded this 15-minute video, which is great. So if you guys like watches, check out my channel, subscribe, and yeah, if you're yeah, like again, like this channel is not about history. This channel is not about current events in Ukraine. There are better channels than my channel that do this. I don't know if you're in US or Europe or anywhere else, just read whatever your news say. This is true, right? If you're in US, you whatever, depends on your party, you watch either like Fox or CNN. I know you hate each other, but they show what's happening in Ukraine truthfully, right? If you are Russian speaking, best resource that I know, and actually they have an English page also, but if you can read Russian or Ukrainian, pravda.com, it's Ukrainska Pravda. They have all the up-to-date news, like, I don't know, Zelensky sneezes and they say, oh, Zelensky sneezed. They say everything. But yeah, so if there are, hey, good morning, Philip. I don't know. We have the first comment, the first comment on the live stream. So I did, yeah, I'm trying it. I'm trying it again. So I did it sometime kind of like a year ago, and it went horribly wrong. We had technical issues. So I'm trying it again. I'm doing it this time. I'm doing it on the phone. Yeah, hey Philip, any questions? All good? Anything I can say about collecting Soviet watches? Did it make any sense? I think we're gonna be closing if there is nothing. Again, guys, if you like vintage watches, and Soviet watches are vintage watches, I have actually several very good videos about Soviet watches. Some of them are super cool, and they represent this like negative history, which is great. This is you have part of the history on your wrist, and you are not promoting Putin's agenda. That's what's important. Yeah, so check out my channel, subscribe. Vintage watches are cool. Soviet watches are okay. Yeah, thank you for watching. Let's see how that turned out. Okay, bye. Okay, how do I stop it now?